On the topic of social media, I'm interested, since you have your pulse on copywriting, a lot of the young bloods coming up, and you're kind of like, I would say, the epicenter of producing great copywriters. What do you think the future with all kind of the new modalities and new platforms, what do you think the future of copywriting persuasion is over the next several years?
You're listening to the smartest guys in marketing, the best show on the planet for client businesses to learn about traffic, funnels, sales, conversions, and marketing coolness. Chris and Taylor are the founders of Traffic and Funnels, a digital marketing consultancy helping you get paid clients from cold traffic daily. Now, here are your hosts, Chris and Taylor.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Smartest Guys in Marketing podcast, the best podcast
Hold up.
in the
I
world.
decided I wanted to do the intro. Guys, it is Taylor Welch and Taylor and Chris Evans, Smartest Guys in Marketing. And when we started the podcast, we had always talked about having somebody come on who was actually the smartest guy in marketing so that we could validate creating the name Smartest Guy in Marketing. And we found him. We were out rolling around the other day, grabbing some beer. We found him digging around in a trash can down in Florida. We said, bro, come on to the podcast. And he said, yeah, let's do it. So we wanted to welcome.
I can't wait to find out who it is.
We wanted to welcome the smartest guy in marketing, Kevin Rogers. Welcome, man.
Wow. Thank you, brother. It's good to be here with you fellas. And thanks for having me on this podcast that hopefully will actually launch one day.
I hope you found what you were looking for in the trash can.
I did. You know, we're facing hurricane right now. So it was a little bit of slim pickings. Some people have been there before me. But, you know, I got some water. I got water out of it. And that's what we really need.
You're feeding the family.
Yeah, you got to filter it a little. I just need some coffee filters now to pour it through.
I love that, man. Dude, I'm going to ask you the first question. I've actually followed you, not in like a creepy, perverted way. I've followed you for a while. That doesn't work,
by the way. That's how I got in with Carlton. It works.
I mean, I would stare through your windows and stuff. But no, dude, I've followed you for a long time, and you've been one of my favorite guys on the copywriting scene.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm interested just like how you got your start in marketing. What is the Kevin Rogers, or as we like to call you, K-Money? What's what's the founder story?
The founder story. Geez. Honestly, man, it was like I was at a place around the age of 30, right? Where, you know, I'd spent 10 years making my living as a stand-up comic, decided I needed to get off the road, needed to really try to win over the girl I knew I was supposed to marry and be with for the rest of my life. And so I was like figuring out any kind of, what's the word the kids use? Hustle? Any kind of hustle I could. But you know, I was not a business, did not have a business mind, didn't know how to selling was so foreign to me. So I was doing stuff like, all these no resume jobs, bartending. I was a bellhop. And I really ended up enjoying and learning a lot from those gigs, but knew, you know, I got to find something. So through a set of wacky circumstances, I came to discover this thing called copywriting. And man, it was like, you know, I used to get chills like reading about it and learning about it, because I knew, I was like, oh my God, for the second time in my life, I've discovered something that I know I'm supposed to do. Right. And that, I don't know how often that happens twice, man. And so I dove into it head first and, you know, figured out how to get clients. And so I was a, you know, freelancer for 10 years. I don't know if that's much of a founding story, but, you know, as far as now becoming a real business owner with Copy Chief, it was just a result of needing, you know, I was at the ceiling of, I think, what I could earn as a copywriter, which was good. But, you know, those days of like getting paid on, you know, royalties forever, you know, like guys like, you know, my mentors like Carlton and Paris Lampropoulos, like those guys are still walking in their mailbox once a month and getting fat checks for stuff they wrote, you know, 15, 20 years ago. That's amazing. But that model's kind of dead. And so for me, it was like pretty much, you know, I was getting paid well, but it was gig after gig after gig. So Copy Chief was my way of solving a problem in the industry. and solving a problem for myself, which was finding a way to teach and scale, because those were I just loved teaching. I really wanted to do that full time.
So you're telling me that you weren't an overnight success sensation?
That's right. I remember I sat down on the real story is I sat down on a park bench, and a man in a white suit in a beautiful Van Dyke sat down next to me, and he told me 10 of his 11 secret ingredients in his recipe. And he said, if you can discover the final ingredient, I'll give you a franchise of Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Just like that. 10 of the 11. And the 11th secret is actually a bonus for joining Copy Chief. If That's you guys
you
hop in.
You've discovered that spice.
No,
it's
I
actually
love it,
pink slime is what it is.
It took you time. I think people just, man, in today's world, everybody, I posted in the ClickFunnels group. Did you see this, Kevin, last week?
Me? I'm not in the ClickFunnels group. But.
Dude, I posted in there and I said, who here is struggling to become a millionaire overnight? And it's funny, but it's like, man, actually people were being serious. They're like, I am. Yeah. Or like, more info, please. I was like, guys, come on.
Dude,
like,
that's what I love about the whole social media or any groups. And Copy Chief, I got to say, they're a little savvier. There's not a lot of like chit chat, but in other groups that are more on social media, just on Facebook, I posted a thing yesterday of what to me seemed like very obviously an aisle of Target in transition, there's like no shelves. It's just this, but I wrote like, oh, this is getting serious, beer aisle at Target.
I saw that. And
people were like, oh man, this shit's looking serious. You better get out of it. I'm like, it's a joke. It's not a beer aisle at Target.
Yeah.
But, anyway, but people just, it's just hilarious what kind of fun you can have when people are grabbing at anything they can get, So,
yeah.
Dude, because, the people who answered that question like that, Taylor, like what are the chances that those folks are going to have success if they're not stopping to like really read and pay attention to a comment like that? You know what I mean? Do you see that as an indicator of, dude, you're going to have to slow down and pay attention to make this work?
I think it's a mindset, dude. Like when I was getting started, this is actually how we met. When I got into Copy Chief, I was copying out sales letters by hand every single day. I did it every single day, 7 days a week for 14 months. And I just remember like, this is worth it for me. Like I'm going to master this. And I think that mindset is becoming more and more like rare, few and far between, where people are actually willing to work for it, because the more stories that come out about these overnight successes, it cheapens the success and people want it faster and faster and faster. So I just want to highlight that you were a freelancer for 10 years. Like
yeah,
it took you a while to master it.
Yeah. And I certainly didn't have any designs on becoming a, celebrity freelancer or whatever the hell I am. But I realize now, reverse engineering it, that I was doing a lot of things that help you get known. Right. And now I kind of teach it as a way to do it. But it's interesting, dude. Like, because on one hand, I say to people, ABT, man, always be teaching, right? Like that's people go, oh, I need you don't need content if you have knowledge or if you've worked hard. Like you hand copying, sales letters for 14 months straight taught you a lot about sales letters and the different writers and their style. You could have blogged about that and you would have been an authority on copywriting, right? Legit. But, so on one hand, I say, don't wait around for someone to anoint you before you can start teaching. I think we all have something to teach if we've been working hard at something. But at the same time, you're right, man. It's like, I kind of look around at the copywriting landscape and I go, like, who's next in line to really come teach this stuff? Who's been in the trenches and really done it, and there's a few people out there, but for the most, it just seemed like when I started, there were a lot of people who were just doing it, and nobody was thinking about, oh, I need to put a course together or I need to. It just feels like everybody's like, oh, but this is the business model. I get one sales letter under my belt and then I release a ebook on how how to do it. And then I have a private Facebook group, and then I have, I'm charging, and it's just like, I don't, look, dude, I look at it like it's a filtering system for what Copy Chief is. Like, people can go run around and join all those other groups. And if they're happy there, and that serves them, I think that's great. But they may, and they may discover Copy Chief and go, oh, wow, holy crap, this exists on a whole nother level. Or they'll go, I don't need that. I got this free thing. And that's fine too. But I think you have to create what you create, and the right people will find it.
Hey,
I didn't know I answered your question, but I think we were just flowing.
That's all right, man. On the topic of social media, I'm interested, since you have your pulse on copywriting, a lot of the young bloods coming up, in copywriting, and you're kind of like, I would say, the epicenter of producing great copywriters.
That's a big word.
You like that, bro? I just
the epicenter.
What do you think the future with all kind of the new modalities and new platforms? What do you think the future of copywriting persuasion is over the next several years? What do you see changing, happening, or is there anything at all?
Yeah, I think video certainly, right, is only going to become more prominent. So I think two things. So a video, I think that the more people can experiment with video, is short copy. You look, we know the trends, right? Mobile, depending on your niche, up to 80% of your traffic is coming from mobile. You can't lay 88 or an 80-page sales letter on somebody on their damn iPhone, right? So what needs to change and what we need to be focused on is how do we engage quickly and then carry on that conversation somewhere else when it's better. The Fox this year is experimenting during the NFL games with 6-second ads.
Ooh.
So we've reached a point where what we do on social media and digital marketing is starting to affect traditional marketing, right? Nobody has time for a 60-second commercial. Are you out of your mind? 30? What is that? Who has 30 seconds? Even 15s are more prominent than 30s, I think, now. And then 6. So you're going, I'm fascinated with I don't know where it goes from there. It's going to be like a 1 second. Subliminal advertising will just become the norm, But I'm fascinated by the idea. It's like Vine society now, right? It's like,
yeah.
How do you tell a story in 6 seconds? Because every ad is a little story. Every joke is a little story. So what is a story you can tell in 6 seconds? I'm fascinated.
So is that going to be your new product?
That is one way that copywriters need to start thinking. There'll always be a place for the long form stuff, but that can't be all anymore. It used to be that, up until, I don't know, really until the internet came, it was like master the art of writing a really good long form sales letter. And then they would do magalogs and bookalogs and things like that were innovative. But now in the digital age, dude, it's just, I always say this, being a copywriter is not enough. I still like the idea of calling yourself a copywriter and making that at the forefront of what you do. However, what you really need to be is a marketing expert with copywriting as your specialty. You have to understand how marketing works in the different platforms as much as possible.
100%. I think that's why stuff like the PLF and some of these other systems, the ask method, that's why they work, is they're multi-step. It's not just one big step on which all of the pressure of the sale lies.
Yeah.
It's
really
a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there. And all of a sudden people get swept up into this ecosystem of tiny tidbits put together that create the sale.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Like, especially with ask, like you could, just doing a DDS, a deep dive survey, will revolutionize your business, right? Like that alone. And but it takes a long time to put together an entire ask funnel, right? It's a hardy piece of work, but you're right. You collect wins along the way with it. And that's what I really dig about it.
Yeah, definitely. People see our marketing and they come into the Smartest Guys group and they're almost like blown away that we use as much humor as we do. And we're constantly joking. And some people don't like it. Some people get get mad because they have, they're cognitively challenged or whatever. But you've used humor for a while. It's like your backgrounds. I think you've merged humor just like we have in your marketing. Do you have any strategy behind that, or are you just funny as a natural human?
It's I do have a strategy. Honestly, I really go by feel, right? For the longest time, I didn't do it. It was just kind of like this thing I used to do. And then the big change was when I actually came back to stand up last year. And that has like opened up my mind to what's cool now is like, now I feel like there's an expectation for me to entertain. I can't, like, for instance, when it was time to promote my live event, it's like, I can't just make a straight video of, we're going to have this event. It's going to be the greatest ever. And you won't believe it. Look at this list of speakers. It was like, I've got to do something that people are going to go like, only Rogers could have made that video. Right. And I like having that expectation now, because I know that I'm performance driven. So I like that pressure. At the same time, sometimes I'm really straightforward in how most of the way I deal with people in Copy Chief is I'm not like constantly yucking it up or, I'm not thinking what's the joke here. I'm just usually giving people what they need. So the strategy is that if anything, I have to remind myself occasionally to, hey, do something funny today. Or if I get an instinct, I don't fight it. One of my favorites was the car wash video. I don't know if you saw that one, but
oh yeah,
I didn't see it.
What's cool is like I'd been doing them, real. So I did you copy tip from a car wash and dude, I literally pull into a car wash. Oh,
that's where you muted the
key
point.
So,
oh my God, yes.
So, but I had done like 3 like real ones, so I always go, oh, that'd be a cool little hook, like copywriting tip. I'm sitting in here anyway, and I always have my phone mounted on my windshield. So, but what's funny about them to me was like it was hard to hear sometimes, I'd be like, and I literally like I'm putting the money in the car wash thing, and I'm thinking, all right, what can I teach? And I'll go PSs, and I'll just think, and I totally riff those, and they usually come out okay. So then I had this idea as I'm pulling in. I'm like, what if I said, this is the greatest copywriting tip I could ever share? And then I literally just riffed it and then I would be talking. And right when I get to the good part, I just like move my mouth, but say no words. Right. And then I went in iMovie and I just jacked up the sound in those moments. And it was just turned out. That was really, brilliant. I know when I'm laughing, editing the thing, that it's going to be good,
Yes.
So just stuff like that, where it's like, it's ridiculous that I'm trying to give important information in a car wash. Why don't we take that all the way and make it actually ridiculous? The problem is I can't do those. I can't do them real anymore because people are like, nah, you dick, you got me once. I'm not watching this.
Yeah.
Or, now you just need to change like the environment or the scene.
Yeah. The car wash bit's done.
Yeah. You did that VSL without pants on that one time.
Oh, that was fun. Yeah. That again that was before I came back to stand up. But the thing with that one was I was actually just really frustrated trying to do it straight. Right. I had stood there for an hour in front of the camera, trying to do everything you're supposed to do, like standing so I'd have the right energy and hitting my marks and like being more enthusiastic. And I'm just like, I was so frustrated. It just didn't feel right. So I'm like, screw this. I'm more comfortable at the desk. I'll just sit at the desk. I turn on the camera and I literally just for whatever reason said, I'm Kevin Rogers, the founder of Copy Chief, and I may or may not be wearing pants right now. And, and then I just had this idea of how do you tell good copy from bad copy? And then I would act out bad copy, like, it's sort of like, I forget what it was, but forcing people to click, like bullying them, manipulate, like, you're going to click it, you better click it. You're going to click it, you better click it, like a gangster, And of course, at the end, I shot it both ways. Like, am I actually wearing pants or not? And of course, I realized it's only funny if I'm not wearing pants. And unfortunately, I had like the worst underwear. Like I clearly, that's how you know I didn't plan that video that day. I would not have been wearing them raggedy ass underwear.
So, dude, that brings up a really good point. Talking about VSLs. Like, what is like the main thing, the most important thing on creating a VSL that is effective and actually gets your market to tune in, engage, and take action?
It's the big idea. You know, it's got to have a clear big idea that draws people in to watching it. But what is, so that in story, but you know, they're kind of intertwined, right? Like, what is the story behind the big idea? And then from there, you can, as long as you have your big idea nailed, things get so easy. It's the hardest part, right? Like Agora and this is what they spend all day on, is like, will this big idea fly? And once they agree on a big idea, then it's just kind of going through the process from there. But so that's the answer, is a big idea. I mean, look at,
can you give us an example of
like
big
the
idea?
biggest VSL ever by a moonshot is End of America. Porter Stansberry wrote it, and 45 minutes long. I think it's responsible for 500,000 new subscribers to their newsletter. It's just ludicrous. And what's interesting is I just interviewed Mark Ford, you know, who you might know as Michael Masterson, the great copywriter, great business builder, world's most interesting man. And I asked him about big ideas, and he said, you have to understand, in marketing, you need the big idea and you need to market towards the big idea. He said, but in copywriting, what you have to know is that any great big idea you have has been done. All your competitors have the same big idea. There's only so many. He said the End of America idea that, you know, the dollar is going to collapse. We were taking whacks at that big idea for 10 years in Agora promotions before End of America, right? 10 years. But Porter nailed it. And, you know, that whole end of this and end of that was not new either. It's just that it all came together in the perfect storm. And, you know, went gangbusters, but it was not an original big idea. It's just that they executed it so well. So once you have your big idea, it sort of comes down to like inspiration and copy muscle at that point to really make it work. And so again, it kind of goes back to this theme that's emerging in this interview here, is you don't have to be first. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to be anointed to try something that's already been done. Just, you got to put yourself into it and do it in a way that nobody else has thought of, or just do it friggin' better. And then you'll succeed, man.
It's great stuff right there, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Dropping those knowledge biscuits.
Put away the funny to get real, and then some boom.
You're elevating our brand right now, man. I just had to ask another question on that, Taylor. Do you mind?
Sure.
Yeah.
You've seen some of the stuff that we've done. It doesn't really have anything to do with VSLs, but you've seen stuff that we've done. Is there anything that you think we should change or that we could do better?
You know, I haven't been through your funnels like to really give where something would stand out. I would tell you that I would have probably already pinged you guys if I saw something that, like, an obvious thing you could tweak, because you're friends, and I would just do that. But I'll tell you, I'll, and this isn't like blowing smoke, I just think you're doing so much right because you're doing it your way. Like, that is the key. Like, you're doing what no one else can do. Like, you guys have this great chemistry. You clearly have this friendship. When I see you guys in a thread together, when you like take over, hijack somebody's Facebook, it's hilarious, man. And it's just, you guys are having fun, you know? And people are drawn to that because that is the victory. Like, you know, Taylor, you were saying about the people going more information, but, you know, it drives me crazy when people do and maybe you guys have done these and I apologize, but I can't stand when people put up these teaser posts and say interested, you know, and then, you know, 600 people interested. You know, fucking Jesus Christ, like, go do something. Like, what, interested? It's the same people and 50 are interested. My God, you're so interested. You're going to be busy for the next 6 months, like listening to people rattle on with their, right?
Yes.
Like, go do something. What are you doing that you're so interested in everybody else's information? Like, find out what you can do, what you can be great at, and turn that shit off for an hour a day and like go after it, man. Like, discover what's unique about you.
Dude.
Did I answer that? I have no idea where we started. That's where I am.
100% freaking percent. So, dude, 100% lights me up. You're turning me on right now, Kev.
I think I'm a little more turned on than Taylor is.
A segue, dude. A segue.
I might have to turn my camera off.
Oh, man. So, like, this brings up an interesting question for me personally, and I think that a lot of people listening will have the same thing. You're one of the greats. You're a student of marketing. You've obviously retained your love for the craft. How do you balance being a student of the game and learning from the things that are out there and the information that's like omnipresent everywhere versus implementing and creating your own stuff, your own vibe? Like, there's obviously a balance there. What is that for you?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I think, I think anybody who's into copywriting will just always be a student of it. And we know that. And that's sort of like a prerequisite. If you feel like you've got it all figured out and you don't have any sort of like sense of wonder about this whole persuasion thing, then I don't know if I can trust you, man. Like I feel, every copywriter I know, like the highest level people, are insatiably curious about a lot of things. And mostly, Paris Lampropoulos, when I interviewed, Clayton Makepeace, he's like, dude, you got him to say things I never heard before. And he was so excited about that, because he's worked with the guy, he's taught for the guy. But the fact that there's more there and he knows there's more there, like, why would he even listen to that interview? He could go, oh, I know what Clayton's going to say. I've heard everything. No way. He was like, oh my God, he couldn't wait to listen. And he was so thrilled that he got a couple of things. That's the level of dedication and curiosity to this. Cause it might just be that little thing. Paris critiqued a piece of copy for us once, and one thing he said, it's the simplest thing, but it completely transformed how I judge copy since then. And if you want to find out what that is, please visit
Persuasion at its finest.
Oh my gosh. What is the link? I need to go there right now.
But that's the level of curiosity. And so and I think the balance is, again, just knowing that, all right, so if I'm always after the best information and the best knowledge I can get from the people who have really been in the trenches, that's going to filter through me. And it might, so for me, it's humor, right? Like, we did a training for Copy Chief called How to Be You But Funny, where we're teaching comedic frameworks. That's something I'm the most qualified person to do that right now, right? But without my mentors and all the people who have taught me about persuasion and how to write copy, there's no way that could exist. It would just be some guy talking about how to tell a joke, right?
Yeah.
So is that, that's how it balances. It's just being passionate about both. And again, giving yourself permission, allowing yourself to be a conduit. So things pass through your unique DNA. And that's why people will follow you. That's why I say you guys are doing so much right. People are learning from you because you guys are going, screw this. We're not going to be another people, trying to convince people they have to have this or they're never going to pay their bills. Or you're just going, let's just have fun. This isn't life or death. It's marketing. It's going to be okay. And so people are learning from you because they resonate with that idea. And people who are just taking themselves too seriously don't resonate with you, and they'll go learn from somebody who's really freaking serious. And that's fine. But you got to do what only you can do, right? Otherwise, no one's going to hear you at all.
Yes. Love that, bro.
I like that, man. That's so good. I know that we're going to have like a lot of new copywriters who, if they've been living under a rock, maybe they haven't heard about you. But with that being the case, what would you say is like your number one go-to resource book for copywriting?
Well, there's all the standard books. Of course, you have to know scientific advertising and tested advertising methods and the Ogilvy stuff. Great Leads is a newer book that is so good. Mark Ford and John Ford, just a fantastic book. But here's my copywriting secret weapon book. Boom, there it is, right there.
Read my mind.
Taylor is a dedicated dude right there. I love that. Oh, here's another one, dude. I bet you have this one close by too. And this is out of copyright. You could brand marketing, smartest guys. Anyway, technique for producing ideas. James Webb Young, dude, it's like 52 pages. And it's essentially what I've been preaching here. Again, it's always the smallest, simplest books, right? This is just about how to combine two things from two different worlds to find the big idea, you know? So this is a huge copywriting important book, A Technique for Producing Ideas by James Webb Young.
Just bought it.
I do that too. I didn't tell you how many. It's so expensive to host a podcast just from like having Amazon open as you're interviewing.
I know, dude.
People, and you're
I'm just gonna buy it.
It's like it'll be at my door by the time we hang up. Pretty soon they'll just inject the knowledge into your brain, right? It'll be like, remember Mork and Mindy? You guys are probably too young. You never saw Robin Williams, but he would read a book, like he would just like blink and have the whole book in his head. Like that's what Amazon will become. Anyway, here's my copywriting secret weapon book. It is called Resonate by Nancy Duarte. And it is about public speaking and giving presentations. But what she did so brilliantly is she has a company, they specialize in presentations and they reverse engineered like some ridiculous amount of talks. I want to say, in my mind it's 100,000, but I don't think there can be that many, but enough to where she's like, there has to be a pattern to why the greatest talks are great and why they're riveting and why they get shared and why people can watch them over and over. And she discovered it. And it's a simple algorithm that looks like, it's just a simple line and then it goes up and then it stays there for a while and then it goes back down and stays there. And then it'll jump around more during certain parts. And all it is two things. It's like, here's how life is and here's how life could be. So it's like fantasy, reality, right? And why this is the copywriter's secret weapon is because it's tension. It's creating tension, right? There are two sort of opposing forces, and when you're framing your copy that way or your talk that way, it allows the hero to be the audience to become the hero because they're on this adventure with you and they know this is how life is for me and this is the frustration, but wow, it could be this way. So think of like Steve Jobs' first iPhone talk is one of them, like one of the most epic talks. That's what he was saying. Like, this is where we've been mired in this bit of technology, but look what we have for you. Look how life is about to be. Oh my God. No, that's why people line up outside the damn store because they're like caught up in that story. So get that book, understand that pattern, and always make sure that your copy has that tension, that back and forth of here's how life is, here's how life could be. And then go, that's what keeps readers glued to the page. Otherwise, you're going to be bored writing it. They're going to be bored reading it. And you'll suck.
You'll suck. Your family will abandon you.
Good,
Chris,
man.
anything to add to that, bro?
No, I mean, I wish we could stay on this for hours, but.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we can.
But
You
you've
just got a
made
hurricane.
Invisible promise to your listeners that, what are you guys shooting for? Like 40 minutes with these or?
Like 20.
Oh, really?
25.
Yeah, that is a good zone.
Yeah, just hop on and off. So, dude, we talk about this, I think, quite often. We talk about our past mentors. Obviously, dude, like, you're probably one of the most impactful people for me. I feel like I learned the game from you and from Copy Chief. And I usually, like, when people approach me and they ask how to learn copy, I usually send them your way. But with that said, you've got a great podcast. I think you have 2 podcasts.
I do.
And you got a website and you got blogs. You have a lot of information. Where can people find out about you? Give us all the links. We'll put them in the show notes.
Yeah. It's really just copychief.com. But if you just go there, you will be asked to join the wait list, right? So you can also, I'd love for you to do that if you want to learn more about how to become a member and all that. But go to copychief/blog or /podcast. And that's where you can discover the podcast and the blog. We have really, really good stuff. We release a new article every week. And yeah, there's 2 podcasts. Truth About Marketing is what I feel like is my feature show. That's where I go after like the most accomplished marketers and really try to understand what they do. That's more of a high level show. But then there's Copy Chief Radio, where I bring on a member of Copy Chief and who's got something really cool they're doing or some new method they've proven. And I just grill them on that for 20 minutes. So it's like a really quick tactical. A lot of times people will tell me they listen to that show on their way to work or their way to their office, implement what we talked about, and increase their conversions like that day, that kind of thing.
Make $1 million.
Yeah. There's that overnight millions.
So if you join Copy Chief from us, Kev has a personal guarantee. You'll be a millionaire within 7 months or your money back.
That's right. Yes. And I will come to your house and clean your gutters for failing you.
Exactly. Because the responsibility is always on.
In my underwear, pantless, because that's my hook.
Hey, notice that, for people listening, we're not getting paid for sending people to different places. We have things that we believe in. Chris has things that he believes in. We send people to things that we feel like are going to benefit them the most. So there's a reason we're not sending you to, is.refer.ni, our Infusionsoft cloaked link. We just want people to grow. And we believe it's part of our mission to separate kind of the wheat from the chaff and clean up the industry. Dude, you're one of the best out there. We have so much respect for you, man, and glad we're friends. And dude, I hope you stay safe with the storm.
Yeah, we'll be all right. And thank you guys. Really fan of what you're doing. And anytime I can help, reach out.
You got it, man.
Thanks, Kevin.
Adios.